Welcome to week 2 of our series, NextGen. As we talked about last week, you guys are all part of a unique generation. You're the next generation of leaders, changers, inventors, parents, teachers. However, as your own generation and a generation more modern and different than any before you, people have a lot to say. Did you know your generation is more racially and ethnically diverse than any other previous generations? And you're on track to be the most well-educated generation yet. Your generation, Gen Z, is also, however, addicted to technology. 40% of your peers actually identified themselves as digital device addicts. And because of this, research shows you essentially can't handle face-to-face communication, but prefer to communicate virtually. But this week, I want to flip the script, and I don't want us to talk about what people say about your generation. I want to know what you say about your generation, what you think about yourself and your peers, what you believe you can achieve, because you are part of this generation. Mark, who is believed to have written the book of Mark in the Bible, was actually quite young when he began his ministry work and following the disciples, much younger than most of them. He grew up with a Christian mother who actually sheltered the disciples in their house when they were being persecuted. So he was surrounded by many great men of faith from a young age. He became close to Paul, one of Jesus' great disciples. He watched Paul fulfill the word and perform miracles. So Mark actually tagged along with Paul, as well as Barnabas, who was Mark's cousin, for his first missionary journey, and it was a great success. However, on the next journey, Mark abandons them. He travels all the way by boat with them to the city of Perga, but leaves Paul and Barnabas to travel inland alone. Mark literally jumped ship. He found another boat heading back to Jerusalem and left them without a word. It's believed now that Mark left so abruptly not because he no longer was a Christian, but because basically he was nervous. This journey in this city was not going to be as easy as the last one to come in and share the word of God. There was a big chance of failure. So maybe it was fear, laziness, and negativity, but Mark didn't want to waste his time. As you can imagine, ditching them like this didn't go over well for Mark. Paul held this instance against him for a long time, mainly blaming it on his childishness and immaturity because he was so young. Childish and immature. I've been called that many times throughout my life, and I'm sure you have too. You're looked down on for your age, assumed you don't know or understand or have a real opinion because you're too young. Your generation gets labeled plenty of things, and childish and immature may be some of the things you've been called. But I want to say again, it's not what others think of you, it's what you think of yourselves. People will always have opinions and comments. Every generation has experienced judgment, but it's not about what other people say. It's about how you define yourselves. You're in a pivotal position in age. You get to define your generation. What people think of your generation doesn't matter, because you're the ones who get to either fulfill their judgments or prove them wrong. You can think whatever you want of yourself, but you need actions to back it up. Yes, for a long time, Paul was upset with Mark about him leaving that day in Perga. And maybe Mark was acting childish and immature in that moment leaving them. But eventually, Mark gained his trust back. He followed Paul on his missionary journeys. He became an incredible disciple of Christ in the spread of the Catholic Church. Paul is recorded later in 2 Timothy 4:11 saying, "Bring Mark with you when you come, for he will be helpful to me in my ministry." The childish became helpful, and the immature became needed. Your actions and choices define who you are. It's about what you think for yourself, what you dream for yourself, not what anyone else thinks. It's not just about what others say, it's about how you define yourselves. You define your work ethic if you're lazy or hardworking. You define your leadership if you speak up for others and lead change for the better. You define your faith. Do you believe and share proudly or try to hide it? This is you defining who you are. Now, you can't define your entire generation's work ethic or faith, but you can define your own. And when each and every one of you choose to take that responsibility, collectively, as a generation, you will be defined by yourselves and not by anyone else. Simone Biles changed the Olympics this year by bringing awareness to mental health. She reminded the world she's not just an athlete, she's a person, and has changed the game and narrative forever. Robbie Novak, aka Kid President, started a YouTube channel at just 8 years old because he wanted to spread love and positivity and make the world less boring. He did just that and became a YouTube sensation. Charlie D'Amelio, Noah Beck, and Addison Rae have used TikTok to change the game in entertainment and social media. No one else can or has the right to do it for you. You get to define your generation. You want to make it better? You want to change the world, change how the world sees your generation, make a difference? Dream it and do it. It's not up to anyone else but you. Do not listen to the Pauls of the world who want to call you immature. Be Mark. Come back and prove them wrong. Become the person Paul asked for because he will be helpful in my ministry. So let's not think about what others think of your generation. We want to know what you think of your generation and what you want others to think when they look at your generation. What do you dream for your generation?
Many people think of our generation, Gen Z, as the laziest group of humans to roam the planet. While sometimes this can be true, I believe we have the potential to do more good than any other generation, as we have the tools to change the world right in our pockets. Our phones, the ones we use every day and practically for everything, are 32,000 times faster than the computer on Apollo 11. If we wanted to, we could all change the world from home, as some people have already done. The resources we have everywhere enable us to do virtually anything we want. Some may say that the sky's the limit, but I really believe that for us, there generally is no limit. The possibilities are endless for us, and new opportunities arise every day for us to achieve something great. At my school, we have a banner saying, "Go forth and set the world on fire." To me, this tells me to think outside the box, to do the unthinkable, and to amaze everyone. For me, this also means a lot, as it calls me to go out and spread my gifts to everyone, and to grab the torch from inside myself and ignite the world. Many think people my age are lazy, or just a burden to all. But I think that even though we all have our flaws, I still think that the world is ours, and that there is no limit to what we can do. As our world faces new challenges every day, I have faith that with the tools we have, nothing can stop our generation. That is why my dream for all of us is for us to go forth and set the world on fire.